Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have a very awesome showcase slash hobby video. It is my new version of my classic Nurgle Demons army, and this has been essentially a year plus project as I started my Nurgle Demons with the old world, and you're going to hear a little bit of the background, and I'm going to show the original paint jobs after this quick introduction. But this video is going to go over each unit, talk a little bit about it, even though you've seen a vast majority of these in separate hobby videos. I'm just so pleased to have this full army on the table ready to be played in this new standard. As many of you guys know, these miniatures are really hard to come by, especially the Beasts of Nurgle, and this feels like I achieved a Oldhammer goal of mine and almost like a milestone. And I hope you guys do stick towards the end of the video. It might be a little bit boring, more of me talking about the army and the units. I will note though, I am taking this army to a GT this weekend, so look forward to another tournament coverage. But as always guys, hope you enjoyed the video. And guys, here's a quick short background story. This shouldn't take more than a minute or two, and I'll go right back into the main centerpiece, which is the new army. But this here is my original paint job for my Nurgle. If you've been following the channel for a while, you've probably seen my classic Nurgle Demon Army showcase. And to make a long story short, I only had 2 to 3 weeks to finish this army for last year's Richmond Open. And essentially, I had quit the hobby, so coming back into it, I forgot how to paint, basically. And this was the best I could do. I'm super proud of the paint and all these accent colors, but the bulk of the skin, it's primarily contrast with just a few line highlights. And as the year progressed, it feels like my painting definitely improved over these guys. Not only that, I felt like my sculpting abilities were very rusty. And now with what you guys been seeing, I felt confident enough to re-tackle this project. And that's why for such a while, I kind of didn't play with this army. I didn't take it to GTs. A little bit, I felt embarrassed, if that makes sense, as my Araby, my Tzeentch, and everything else outshined my favorite army. I will be keeping these guys in this paint job just as a token, so I remember what they used to look like. But that's just a quick background blurb, just for those who may have found the channel recently or don't understand why it's been a year plus. The whole army was painted to the standard, and I've basically resculpted a lot of them, repainted all of them, and added a lot of new, more interesting characters. So let me jump back to the army and talk a bit more about each character and unit. So jumping straight back to the army, I'm going to start with the characters as they're the most interesting, and a little bit different, you'll just see the army in the background. But in front of you guys, you see Kugath Plaguefather. He is the general of this force, and I am beyond happy with the way he turned out. As you know from my Kugath hobby video, he was such a huge project to tackle, and I think this model was the reason why I worked on my Nurgle Demon army. If I couldn't, I guess, produce him in this quality, I probably wouldn't have continued my Nurgle army. I probably would have waited until I got a bit better at sculpting or painting, in fact. So without Kugath here, I wouldn't have the army behind me. And he was such a joy to build. I feel like he kind of perfectly captures the difference in quality. And actually next to me, I can show the original Great Unclean One. So again, both of them I'm still proud of, but Kugath definitely shines way better than this Great Unclean One. I think everything about it, from the sculpting, the pose, and especially, let me go to the banners, the freehand was such a great part of this project. Sorry about the glare. I have a slightly satin varnish, but he's such a great model, and I won't talk too much about him as he has a whole video dedicated to his creation and everything like that. How I'm going to be running this guy in this weekend's event He'll just be a Great Unclean One with the Plague Flail. I'm trying to justify the Plague Flail with either the Palanquin smashing the dudes, or the waves of Nurglings grabbing them, or who knows, he just grabs you and eats you with his multiple tongues. He has the Plague Flail upgrade and the Trappings of Nurgle. What that gift does is give him a 4-up armor save. So against a fireball or against some poison shots, he'll have a 4-up, 5-up, 5-up. If it's magical, he'll at least have a 4-up armor save. So I'm keeping him a little bit generic when it comes to the kit out, but I'm really proud to have this as my general, as he finally feels like a centerpiece. And when I took my Nurgle Demons to event last year, this little dude had to be my focal point, and at least Kugath is twice, if not 3 times, the height of him. So that is Kugath, Plaguefather. Let me move on to the next character in the army. Up next is Horticulus Slimux, a very popular conversion you guys really enjoyed, and a model I'm also very proud of. So Horticulus, a little bit of the background, he is Nurgle's, I believe, rumored to be the oldest or first Plaguebearer, and that's why he gets to ride Mulch, this cool molluscoid. And all I can say is this model is amazing, and I'm so happy to have him in the Force. What I had to do was kind of make the Beast of Nurgle tail kind of blend in, so I could kind of lore-wise say that these molluscoids could evolve from the Beast of Nurgle as well. He will be acting as actually a Nurgle Demon Prince, armed with, I believe I just gave him level 4, so he can cast some magic. And if I'm not mistaken, maybe that's all I gave him actually, pretty generic. I can double check the list for the GT. But the plan for him is, I think the Demon Prince stat line can reflect Horticulus. I tried playing with a Palanquin, it just doesn't work. He dies too easily without the Renegade packet. But I do think it's cool to have him being a Demon Prince, so I can still attach him to the Plaguebearer unit, and it would look really cool with him next to it. But yeah, so tactically wise, this guy is going to be pretty cheap. My main caster on the tabletop, as most Demon Princes are pretty sturdy, being T5, 4 wounds, and having a 4-up actual ward save, so I'm not too concerned about that. But that's Horticulus. Again, very proud of everything I did to get this guy to be where he is now. And like I said for Kugath, I'd say Horticulus, once I finished him, I kind of knew it was time to tackle and finish my original Nurgle army. So let me move on to the next 2 characters of the army. Up next, we have 2 Nurgle Heralds. You saw 2 different videos for them, so I won't go too much in detail. But up here, we have my Battle Standard Bearer. He is a Nurgle Herald with the Diamonus Loci, which is the BSB, and he has the Spoilpox Scrivener gift. What that does is everyone now within a foot of this model gets to reroll 1s to hit in combat. It only affects Nurgle demons, but because my whole army is Nurgle demons, it's pretty fitting. And just love the way this guy turned out as well. Such a cool model, and again, he was an original conversion. You saw the inspiration video. I just modified the mouth, added the Nurgling, and of course repainted the totem. What's cool though is this little scroll and the 2 icons are actually the original paint jobs, just slightly cleaned up. So again, this felt like a great journey going from kind of rough paint jobs to what it is now. I'm really pleased with him, and I think, or I know from past games, this kit out with the Nurgle Herald with the Spoilpox and BSB, pretty sturdy, and he does help the army quite a bit. Up next is my Sloppity Bilepiper, my most recent video for Nurgle characters, and again, I just love the additional upgrades. This was an original miniature I made 10 months ago, not quite a year ago. but again, it kind of shows some elements are a little bit rough to my sculpting. So you can see the head tentacles, this face, and even the little bagpipe demon are my first sculpting attempts. And then when you look at this half with the custom sculpted hand, the foot, and the modified Nurgling, it's just nice to see a blend of my earlier sculpting to where I am now. So again, it does feel like I'm honoring my original, I'd say, inspiration or my vision of this army. What the Sloppity Bilepiper does in game is every Nurgle demon unit that starts their movement within 8 inches of him gets +1 movement. So this guy is going to help my army get across the table, as Nurgle units are very slow. So 1 extra inch does help quite a bit. So those are the last 2 characters for the Demonic Nurgle Legion. Let me move on to the first core choice. The first core choice is a solid block of 20 Plaguebearers with full command and the standard of Seeping Decay. The standard is too cool not to make a magic standard, but there is some tactical use behind it. The standard of Seeping Decay allows the unit to reroll 1s to wound, which will help quite a bit depending on if I get some cool spells off. And the unit itself I love so much. Let me see if I can turn it without the movement tray on hand. I just love the huge array of colors you see in the unit. This is, I think, what I originally wanted my Plaguebearer unit to look like, with all the different shades of Nurgle, and I'm so pleased with it. You have some retro colors like the blue, this bright green, but then you have some modern colors like this camo green, this fleshy tone, and even this this yellow. And you can see in the front actually my Herald Poxblight. So this guy was showcased in a battle report. I actually never showed a video of the repaint. This was a first conversion again from last year. Very rough with the sculpting and very simple. He was too cool not to use, and I think I'll never run a Nurgle Herald without a gift. I think it's a waste of points. So it was only fitting to make him a unit champion. So I have an excuse to use this cool miniature I made and just plop him in the front. And one thing I should note, I guess I never showed videos or photos a year ago. I intended to make each Plaguebearer unique because during the time they released these Plaguebearers, if I'm not mistaken, they only had 7 sculpts that you can see very common, and then they made 3 or 4 unique Plaguebearer sculpts that I guess just due to limited release, they're hard to come by. So what I mean by that is I took, if I can find, so this is Doomblight, a Realm of Chaos named Plaguebearer during the time. What I did to modify him was I chopped the lower jaw, sculpted the tongue, and made him a cool looking chin. So this was an earlier conversion I did last year, and I was so proud of it. But that small change makes him look quite unique and breaks up the repeated miniatures. And then another conversion, I forgot this guy's name, but he is, I think actually he's leper flesh, if I'm not mistaken. You guys can correct me in the comments below. But this is the original pose, and here is my modified pose. So I had to cut the arm, sculpt it to this new position, and resculpt some muscle to make it blend in, and I closed the jaw and sculpted teeth. Again, this is a old conversion, but I loved it. This actually for a long time was my unit champion because I liked the pose so much. But just small changes like that makes a whole huge difference to these old classics. And let's see if I can get one more pose. So this guy here, I don't want to break these guys. So this guy here, unfortunately, I forgot his name. This is the original pose, and my standard of the unit is the same miniature. So I had to cut the head, resculpt this whole midsection, reposed the arm, sculpted this lower jaw, and added the teeth and tongue. And yeah, I think already you can see it looks like a whole new miniature. You can tell though by the Nurgling, and I think it's funny, I just inverted the colors on these two poses. But I was super proud of this unit. It's 20 man strong, and I have, I think, 10 more of these first edition Plaguebearers. The issue is these guys are kind of hard to come by, and I'm very fortunate I have this many. But I think a solid 20 block should be good enough, especially with the BSB and Horticulus attached to the unit. And while we're talking, I guess I can quickly show Horticulus actually attached. So because he's on a smaller base, he just has to sit in the front rank like so, and bam. So there we go, Horticulus attached to the unit of Plaguebearers. Pretty cool. Let me move on to the second core choice I have. So the second core choice I have are these Nurgle Furies, my Plaguemites. And again, you saw a whole hobby video talking about them. To summarize, they are the classic cave squigs that I sculpted and modified to make these like mutated Nurglings. As you know, Nurgle has such a vast menagerie of creatures, and I thought making my own Plaguemites might be cool and it would blend the army together. I should note for this weekend's event, I need 7 of these guys. The reason I don't have the other 2, I am waiting for the models to strip so I can sculpt them, which means I'll probably do it the night before. But you have to imagine 2 more of these guys. I wanted to keep some theme, so if I take Furies, I want to keep them in the Nurgle's holy number. So this is going to be 7 Nurgle Furies. These guys, if you know the old world, they're busted in the sense everyone takes them. I don't want to take more than 7 because, again, when I'm playing my Nurgle demons, the focus should be on the Plaguebearers because they are an actual unit of Nurgle. But I'm happy to have these guys. They'll help a little bit tactically wise, and then it adds a little bit of uniqueness to the army. Let me move on to the third core choice of the army. So my last core choice are just a unit of 3 Nurglings. Now I repainted these guys just a few days ago. That's why there's no crazy video about them. But I'm super pleased with how they all turned out. A lot of fun colors, and I just used all the colors and tried alternating them, and I think it worked out fairly well. These models have so much charm and so much character, and this is why I think the first edition Nurgle models are the best. You have a guy flicking you off, a guy picking his nose, a guy sunbathing. There's just so many unique sculpts. It's actually unreal that they made so many distinct Nurglings. Game-wise, these guys are pretty cost-efficient. 7 wounds apiece. They have poison attacks, and they technically have that demon ward save unless it's magical. So these guys are pretty good. I'd say they're definitely a little bit overcosted in some regards, but I wanted 1 unit of each of Nurgle's iconic units in this army, so I have to take this minimum unit of Nurglings. But besides that, very simple, nothing too crazy to talk about, other than I am super pleased with all the colors, and they just look so much better than, I have this guy here, let me move them over, than the first paint job. I think the first paint job, they look so washed out, and there's so much detail that's missed, but with the new painting, you can just see how much more these guys pop. So let me go on to the special choices. Onto my first special choice is one that I think I over filmed too much or showed too much, but it's my unique Pox Riders. These guys represent plague drones in the old world. And again, you can watch my old videos. I have 2, in fact. The first one covering this guy and the last 2 covering these 2. But I wanted to make a unit that fit the idea of Realm of Chaos, and I loved the Forge-rolled Plague Toads. I had to sculpt these to match this aesthetic, and I still can say they are legal miniatures in the sense that all the legs are from the Great Unclean One. So it's cool that I have elements of the original parts still integrated into these like custom sculpts. These guys are fantastic. I think people spam them a bit too much in the old world, but having a unit of them seems cool, especially because I want one of each. These guys are pretty good. They're T5, only 3 wounds, and in some cases I do think they're a little bit overcosted, but they do have Swift Stride, and this unit I'm taking for the GT, just full command, nothing crazy, but this has become another centerpiece of my army, as converting this whole unit was such a long and thoughtful process. I had to really think of how I wanted everything to be, and especially the freehand, I love the way it turned out. Just everything about this unit just stands out, and I'm super proud to have it in this force. So let me move on to the last special choice of the army. And the last unit is 4 Beasts of Nurgle, and I know how fortunate I am to own this many. These guys are such iconic miniatures that command quite a hefty price tag to get one. Now I am more fortunate, I own 3 more of these guys as I love these miniatures too much. They have so much potential for conversion, and I have a video talking about these guys, so I'll save all of my rant for that. But you guys didn't see the repaint, so you can see this guy is if I can move these guys back here, he has a fleshy body with blue skin and the new eyes to tie them in with the Plaguebearers. The way I justify the eyes is if I think they're like a beast, like an animal, so the Plaguebearers, the Beast of Nurgle, or Mulch, the molluscoid, I think these creatures have these red gem eyes because they're more like an animal and not an intelligent demon like a Plaguebearer. The reason the plague toads have the eyes like this is because in my eyes they're meant to be cursed Plaguebearers who didn't fail or didn't meet their tally, and Nurgle punished them. That's one alternate lore they have on these guys. That's why the eyes are like the Plaguebearers. But back to the Beasts of Nurgle, I love the colors, the whole head of pinks and greens. It looks very poisonous and toxic. So this one I'm really happy with. The next color I have is this khaki skin with a camo green, and I think it worked out really well. I think going with these gem eyes makes these guys pop so much detail and so much edge highlighting, but I think it pays off. This guy here, who I just hit, I don't think anything broke. He has a yellow belly and that camo green on top. Really, I think this is the best version of the Beast of Nurgle GW ever released. And the last one, sorry about that, I smashed everything aside. The last one is a brown belly with a yellow camo green top. So I wanted each beast to be a little bit unique when it comes to the skin. And these guys in game are a hit or miss. I think sometimes they're overcosted at 63 points, but they do have D6 +1 attacks each. They all can challenge 4 wounds at T5 with a 5-up conditional ward save and a 5-up conditional regeneration save. So these guys, in some games, they make me feel like they're so undercosted, and then in other games, they feel like a huge paperweight, but they are such an iconic unit to Nurgle, especially the first edition ones. This unit just looks so great on the table, and it weighs a ton. But yeah, this is the last unit I repainted for the whole army. So guys, there you have it. That was the whole 2,000 point Nurgle demon army I have for my Mark II first edition demons. I will definitely be adding a couple more units, but after that, I can finally close this chapter in my hobby career. I'll be playing a lot more games with these guys, but if you are a fan of Nurgle, just know my Nurgle demons are coming to an end when it comes to conversions. I have about 3 more unique models to make, and then I'll be moving on to a whole new army. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did. I'm so proud to share these guys with you. If you enjoyed it, please comment and subscribe. It really means a lot, and I hope you guys enjoy this video.